About a year and 9 months later, the Magi arrived. The town of Bethlehem had been identified by both their calculations and the research from Herod's priests' records. It was a surprise when the Magi showed up at the door. Mary had heard around town that there were some strange men asking questions. The Magi thanked people, but would not spend the night in anyone's home. They stayed in their own tents outside of town. After the conversations, they asked to meet any male children under age 2. They would also ask who else had small boys. They refused to explain what they wanted, saying only that they would know when they found it. It was a mild winter, 2 years after the census, when the Magi arrived at the right home. It was the home of Elizabeth and Zachariah, now home to Mary and Joseph as well. Offered hospitality, they had the evening meal. They asked to come back to play with the boys. Mystified, the family said, okay. This pattern of visiting continued for a week. On the following day, which was the beginning of the week, on a Roman month of January, the 6th day, they arrived later in the afternoon. This time they wore finery that no locals had ever seen, being a foreign design. They asked again to play with the boys. They sat on the floor with their 4 boxes. The first box was opened. It held various toys, bells, balls, shiny things. Judas and John dove in. Each took a favorite toy from the pile, and the pile was moved to the side. The Magi then pulled out 3 medium-sized ornate chests. Jesus sat quietly watching. The 3 gifts were meant as a test to identify what kind of king they were coming to welcome. The gold was meant to call attention to an earthly king. Frankincense was worth its weight in gold and was meant to draw the attention of a sacred or heavenly kingship. Myrrh was worth 7 times its weight in gold and represented death and healing because of its use in embalming the dead, and a king who chose that would be a healer. Each box held approximately a pound of each of the gold or spice. What the child chose would tell the Magi what they wanted to find out about his future. Jesus took a small piece from all 3 boxes. This amazed the Magi, but they accepted that this was truly a ruler of all realms, earthly, heavenly, and over the dead, being a healer as well. Jesus just smiled. He gently replaced the small pieces into the appropriate boxes. The adults in the home were very shocked at this display. They were even more shocked when the Magi gave the boxes to Jesus' parents. To Zachariah and Elizabeth they gave a small bag of coins. They said that the hospitality was endless in their home. The coins would help thank them in small measure for all the food the Magi had eaten. They would not accept the bag back when Elizabeth tried to return it. That night the Magi asked to stay near the babies. No special treatment was required. They brought their own fine blankets and bedrolls. They lay down near the manger, where the babies still slept. That night they dreamed of a vicious attack on them if they went back to Herod. They dreamed of great danger to this child as well. They left an hour before dawn, leaving town unobserved. They abandoned their tent, set up but empty. No one saw which direction they had departed. With the tent left, the Magi's departure was not even noticed until days later. The spies of Herod did not know if they were just staying at another home or had really left the area. Before leaving, they warned the household to leave soon as well. They advised them to pay attention to any dreams that came the next day. Joseph had a horrible dream of murdered babies. Both families departed the next morning, supposedly to go to market in Jerusalem. Taking John, the bag of gold coins, Elizabeth and Zachariah went to stay in Jerusalem to live, supposedly to be closer to the temple. A couple of miles outside of town, Joseph and Mary carried Jesus and Judas, the tools of Joseph's trade, and last of the most helpful, the 3 casks and chests of treasure, to set them up in Egypt, and rode on the 2nd donkey. They went to Egypt because an angel came to point their way.